What's up, meatbags? It's the often imitated, never duplicated TonyTGD, and I'm joined by Gary, the obsessive compulsive gamer. We're going to be talking Obi Wan Kenobi. We're going to go through the first 3 episodes, give our thoughts on each individual episode, and the overall feeling on the show so far. But before we get into that, obviously, I'm going to remind you to like the video, share the video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Because you know what time it is, Gary?
It's intro time.
Hey, get out of my way. The season isn't hot take, so you might as well stay. It's time to listen to the geek
All right, so first 3 episodes, as you can see, we got the nice Rotten Tomatoes tomato meter up here. We got 87% critic rating, 58% currently on the audience rating. It was 71% just a couple of days ago, but some controversy between one of the actors and the fans caused a little bit of a change in the tomato meter here.
And possibly that 3rd episode.
Possibly. So let's go through the first episode, Obi Wan Kenobi. What were your initial thoughts going into the series?
I was excited. This has been kind of in the works. They wanted to do the movie. Been going back and forth, so we've been waiting quite a while for this. Of all the shows that I wanted to see, Kenobi was up there. The Yoda series or Yoda movie is something that I wanted to see. So going into it, I was super excited.
I was not so excited. We talked about this when we first heard that it was coming out, and I was a little weary about what they were going to do and how they were going to handle the whole Luke situation. What could you add to the canon that wasn't going to dramatically screw up everything between, episode 3 and episode 4 of the movies. But so far, not too bad. So the first episode takes place 10 years after Order 66, where all the Jedi were killed. You got the Grand Inquisitor. He shows up with the 5th brother and the 3rd sister, and they start wrecking shit on Tatooine, smacking people around, taking names, trying to find out where any Jedi might be. And lo and behold, they find one, some random nobody. You think they're going to catch Obi-Wan, like, oh, they're looking for Obi-Wan, but nope. They were looking for someone else, some Jedi named Nari. And they do find him, but he kind of gets away. But we do learn that Ben Kenobi is working. He's like cutting up some sort of like giant sand whale or whatever. It's working at like a meat factory. Now I'm not sure, was he stealing meat? Because it looks like he was stealing meat, Gary.
I think he was stealing meat, which kind of is odd because he's trying to keep a low profile, which means that he can't get himself out of any sticky situation with the wave of a hand. So it was kind of weird to me, when I thought about it, I was like, oh, well, he's stealing. If he gets caught, he could just, well, no, he can't. He can't just use that because he's trying to keep a low profile. So, yeah, to me, it looked like he was stealing and not really liking his position in life at this particular moment.
Yeah, the whole stealing thing was weird to me because he is working a job, so I figured he'd have money, so he would just buy supplies. Because that's the whole point of working, right? But if you're willing to steal, why didn't he just steal supplies? So it's kind of a weird thing.
Well, again, and it looked like he was in this same kind of role that Rey was kind of in at the Force Awakens type movie, where they work, but they're barely paid anything. They're given these little rations, they're trying to make the best of things.
Yeah, so Nari, he escapes from the Inquisitors, finds Obi-Wan and desperately pleads, please, Obi-Wan, help me. Come on, we can do this together. We can take these guys out. Obi-Wan says, fuck that. I've given up. I don't want to deal with this shit no more. Too old for this shit. He pulled a Danny Glover. Said, I'm getting too old for this shit. You're on your own, kid. So eventually Nari gets caught. He's strung up in the city, the town square. Obi-Wan sees this. It's kind of like, fuck that up. Then we see that young Leia is hanging out with her adopted parents, doing the whole princess thing. When lo and behold, Flea and the Red Hot Chili Peppers kidnaps her. And it's weird because the way he's dressed in there, he's dressed almost like the same character from Back to the Future. I was like, it's the dude from Back to the Future kidnapping Princess Leia. So that was weird. Like, cause he just had like a regular like flashy shirt, like an 80s. It was just weird. Like he was not dressed Star Wars like, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was a weird choice to have him in there because I think everybody had the same thought. My old lady didn't know who it was, and I'm like, wait, is that Flea? I'm like, is Flea in here? Why does he always get these like weird roles?
So yeah, he kidnaps Princess Leia. So of course, Jimmy Smits, he doesn't want to make a big deal about it. So he contacts Obi-Wan and says, hey, Obi, I need you to rescue Princess Leia. You know, she got kidnapped. If I make a big deal, then people are going to find out, and there's going to be a whole, thing about it. And Obi-Wan says, that's too bad. I'm not going to help you.
And he throws the old friend card at him.
And even then, he says, nope, I'm not going to help you. So sorry, Mr. Organa. I'm not going to help you. So then, of course, Jimmy Smits has to show up in person. It's like, hey, dude, what the fuck? How you going to let Princess Leia just get kidnapped? And he's like, hey, I'm watching Luke. And he's like, dude, fucking Luke ain't doing shit. Luke's on the farm living his life. You can take a couple of days off and go find, track down Leia and figure out what's going on. So at the very end, he relents. He says, fine, I'll go find Princess Leia. Now, what were your thoughts after you watched this first episode? Were you impressed? Were you ready to watch more Obi-Wan action?
I think I wasn't expecting her to be in the show, and then even if I did kind of think that she was going to be in the show, I really didn't think he was going to be off-world much. So it was definitely a surprise right when they kind of skipped to it that, oh wow, she's going to be in this. And I liked her. I thought she was adorable. I did think that the chase sequence, which is probably one of the main points that everybody was kind of bugged about, was kind of shot awful, just the way they did it. And I kind of sitting there thinking like, wait a minute, like they're running through the the forest or whatever in the trees, and this guy's getting hit with a brain. It was kind of pitiful there for a second. Aside from that, I liked the start of it. I liked what they were trying to tell, how they were telling it. It was okay. It was an okay first episode for me. It wasn't the best it could have been, but I don't think it was the worst it could have been either.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty decent setup for your first episode.
Right.
The actress, I know there was a lot of people complaining about the actress playing Princess Leia. She's a kid, right? She did what she was asked to do. She's kind of annoying, but I mean, Princess Leia always had that kind of annoying, like stubborn, know-it-all, personality. And I think the little girl did a good job. I was a little confused why she knew how to speak to droids. I don't know, is that a thing in Star Wars where people just know how to speak to droids? It's never really been explained. Like, they just make beeping noises, and people are like, yeah, I understand that completely.
I think it's part has to do with like her intuition, I guess. Just a little bit of her high metachlorian count, I guess. But
yeah, but like she does it like there's no like no one second guesses. It's just like natural. Like doesn't because it would be the equivalent of like I just started talking to like a dog, right? Like
right.
Imagine your kid just started talking to a dog and just like there's no big deal. Some people talk to dogs and it's like it's just weird. Do all droids sound the same? Do they have dialects? Is it one language? How does it work? I'm confused by this whole droid thing. But other than that,
she is royalty, so she'd have access to being able to talk to droids, I guess, in her schooling abilities, I guess, if you want to say, early on. So
they had this whole idea where she was like, you got to be nice to your subordinates and be nice to the droids and say thank you to them. Which I don't know if they were trying to make a parallel between young Anakin, who built himself a friend called C-3PO because he didn't really have any friends or anybody to hang out with. And they were trying to show, Princess Leia had the same affinity for droids, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, overall, good episode, good setup. A couple of nitpicks, like you said, him stealing was kind of weird. The chase scene was a little off. Grand Inquisitor made his entrance. Fucking nailed it. Like, this guy, like, just reeked asshole. Like, you just want to punch him. You just want to fucking knock his ass out. Like, he was just dripping with fucking hubris and so he played it good. I couldn't have done it better. And everybody knows I'm a big asshole. So now we go into part 2, second episode. We got the kidnappers. They're on some planet called Dayu. Obi-Wan Kenobi's looking around. He's trying to figure out what's going on. A little street urchin tells him, hey, I know a Jedi. Jedi can help you. Turns out that this Jedi, some guy named Haja, he's not really a Jedi. He's just like a con man. He's conning people and taking their money. He's helping people, but he's still, maybe overcharging them, pretending to be a Jedi, setting things up in advance.
Making a couple credits in the process.
Yeah. Just making a little money. So eventually, the Grand Inquisitor, he figures out that, hey, they're there on this planet. Kenobi's there. So he locks the city down. He's going to capture him. But third sister, Reva, she got her own thing going. She wants to capture Kenobi because she wants to try to get some of that glory. She wants to, take the credit for it. She eventually contacts all the mercenaries because it turns out she's the one who set it all up. So she contacts them, says, hey, make sure somebody gets a hold of Kenobi before fucking the Inquisitors do, right? Bring him to me. Eventually, they get cornered. He rescues Leia. He fucking drugs them with spice. Gets the fuck out of Dodge. Him and Leia running away. Eventually, at some point, they're getting chased on rooftops. Princess Leia falls. And Obi-Wan Kenobi uses the Force to soften her blow. It's just a nice little fall. They eventually hook back up with Haja. Turns out that he's sympathetic to the cause. He's going to help Kenobi get the fuck out of Dodge. Sends him to, a little transport place. Port, little transport. And they're going to get out. But Reva catches up to them. And she makes the shocking revelation that Anakin Skywalker is alive. And he's Darth Vader now. But of course, before we get a fight between Reva and Kenobi, Grand Inquisitor makes his grand entrance, says, hey, bitch, get out the way. Let me handle this. I'm going to take him. And then she stabs him with a lightsaber. Kenobi and Leia escape. And then we get Darth Vader waking up from the Bacta tank. So what do you think about the second episode?
I thought it was another good episode. I think there were a few missteps. There was a fight or like an argument, I think, that breaks out between the third sister and I think it was another one of the sisters. It felt the acting there kind of felt a little forced. It wasn't nothing too major, but it was just something I pointed out or seen. And then I think the biggest problem with the rooftop scene was he's being chased and all this stuff's going on and happening, and then all of a sudden she falls and he's given what seems like almost an eternity to save her from her fall, and then just he hops down, and then that's that. Like nothing else is going on. So I thought it was a little confusing. Maybe not confusing is the right word, but they just didn't piece it together, right? It's like one of those movies where when you're watching, they only got 5 seconds before the bomb goes off, and then somehow that ends up being a 5-minute segment that it just doesn't make much sense. And I felt that like it was a good scene up until that point, and then they just kind of walk away from the whole thing. But I think it worked itself out. Obviously, the Grand Inquisitor, it's left a big question mark in the series whether he's dead or not. I truly think that he's still alive. We didn't see him dead. They do mention some stuff going into the next episode. But I think they ended it well. I think that was great. I knew there was obviously tension between the two of them. Something was going to happen, although I didn't think it was going to be her to be the one to put the saber through his belly. I thought it would be the other way around, but that didn't happen the way I thought it was going to happen. And they ended it with a Darth Vader healing up a little bit, and we've seen that to an extent before, but I think they ended it right, and overall was like the first episode. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't really the worst, and I liked where they were going with everything, so I enjoyed it.
Yeah, the fight between the two sisters, the argument. I didn't like the whole contrived notion that the third sister came from the slums. You're a nobody. We're still, we have royalty. We're still like rich people. You're like a nobody. You only got in here because you know the Force. Like,
right? We're
still above you. I didn't like that. I think that was too contrived. It was like, of course she's poor. She was a poor person, and that's why they're giving the excuse. That's why she's fighting so hard to claw her way into a position of power. It's almost like they're setting her up for that, the twist where she ends up turning and going to the light side.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That I didn't like. The the hallway fight. I don't want to call it a fight, but where he doesn't use the Force. He's just like, throwing hands. It's kind of weird. They really didn't set up the fact that he doesn't use the Force or can't use the Force, or it has a sort of crisis of the Force, if you will, right? Like crisis of faith, because he doesn't use it like the whole time. He's not using the Force. But there's really no explanation.
And I think that's to do with, I think some fans, like I understood after the first episode of the steal, like it came to me when he was stealing stuff, and I said, well, he can steal stuff, but he could always just use like Jedi mind trick and get himself out of it. And it dawned on me, like, wait a minute, he's in hiding. Clearly, this is part of the whole thing, right? He's had to learn how to get by without doing it anymore because he's trying to lay low. And they don't at all in this series explain that. They're hoping that the viewer comes to the conclusion that that's the whole premise here, is that part of it is, like you said, like battling the faith thing, and then part of it's he's got to lay low, and he can't use any of this stuff, or that could spell doom for him. So
yeah, but when he was on the planet looking for Leia, I think at that point he really could have used the Force.
Right.
Especially there was the end when they were chasing him.
He's being chased. Yeah, there was no point for him not to use it, and I think that's where it comes in, where he hasn't used it in 10 years. And we'll get to that here coming up in the third episode. That he has lost his way a bit. There's definitely some that time has definitely affected his Force skills.
Yeah, I think though that they needed, at least in the first 2 episodes, somewhere maybe a harder emphasis, right? Show,
right.
Don't tell, right? Maybe,
right.
And it's the same thing that when I had the problems with the new trilogy, where what the hell's her name? Daisy Ridley's character,
Ray.
Rey could just use the Force suddenly, right? You should have shown her, subconsciously using the Force. Like she doesn't realize she's using the Force. So then later on, that sets up, oh yeah, she's, she always had this connection. She just never realized. In the same way, they should have showed Obi trying to use the Force and then failing, or maybe like it wasn't as good, or he tried to pull like a knife or something towards him and it was like a little shaky. So you see, like, you get that visual, like, oh, something's wrong with the Force and Obi's connection, like, because then when Leia falls and they give you the dramatic, is he going to use it? Like, you're supposed to be like, is he going to be able to use the Force? But it doesn't really land as strong as it's supposed to, because he didn't have that earlier moment of him not being able to use it or using it and not working exactly how he wanted. So I think that, it's a little nitpick. Show don't tell. Disney, come on. You got to be better than that. I did like the Haja character with the fake Jedi, and he was doing.
And I wasn't expecting that. What was the actor's name? Kamali.
Yeah, it's the guy from Eternals.
Yeah, he was in Eternals. I liked him in Stuber. He's pretty funny. So I thought that was, as soon as he took off his hood, I thought me and the old lady were chuckling that it was him. So,
and the actress that handed Obi Wan Kenobi the spice for free, that's Ewan McGregor's daughter.
Oh, is it? Okay, I didn't know that.
So he literally walks up to his own daughter and says, "Hey, I'm looking for my daughter."
That's kind of funny.
So, and then did you see? I did like the what the hell is his name? The guy that plays Boba Fett. He made a little cameo.
Yeah, he was an appearance as a old veteran that hasn't been taken care of. Looks like the Empire did away with the clones and threw everybody away, and he was in the corner begging for change. So
yeah, down on his luck, ex-stormtrooper. So I thought that was funny. Overall, decent episode. Set some things up. Some things were in motion. I didn't like the Inquisitor getting killed. We were discussing this before we got online, before we got live. Whether or not this makes Star Wars Rebels canon in question now, because the Grand Inquisitor is dead. You think he's not dead? You think he's just injured severely? But we'll see.
I think they're gonna, especially coming when you see Episode 3. There's not really much of mention of him except for the beginning, but they still don't really say much. In fact, they're still kind of fighting over that seat in the third episode. So I think they're going to probably drag it to maybe the fifth episode where they bring him back. If they don't, then they don't. If he's dead, he's dead. But I don't believe he's dead, and I believe he'll make his grand entrance at the end of the series, probably at episode 5. I don't see him waiting till the very last episode to bring him back, but I think they might do like set up for like a tease at the end of episode 5. I could see them doing that, and then him being in episode 6, and then we'll see more. Maybe because they did confirm that they're signed up for 2 more seasons.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I don't think he's dead.
So now we get to the third episode. Lord Vader is talking to Reva. He says, "Hey, I know what you're up to. I know you're trying to claw your way up the order. You want to become Grand Inquisitor. So I'll throw you a bone. You capture Obi, and I'm going to make you Grand Inquisitor. I'm going to give you all your dreams. You just bring me Obi Wan Kenobi." So she comes out. She's barking orders. She's like, "Hey, do this, do that, do this." And was it the fifth brother, whatever the hell his name is, he's like, "Fuck you, bitch, because I'm next in line." You ain't in charge. He does the Force on her, spreads her on the table. I was like, "Oh shit, we're ready to have the Star Wars porn parody," because he got her all spread out. I was like, "Ooh."
Star Wars S&M.
Yeah, I was like, "Did we accidentally hit the wrong button? This isn't Disney Plus. This is the Hub Plus." But then she's like, "Hey, dude, fucking Vader told me to get this done. And I was waiting for the moment where she was like, well, you could go talk to Vader and let him know, right? But she didn't. I guess she didn't even have to. She was just like, Vader told me, if you got a problem with that shit.
Yep, take it up with the Lord.
Take it up with the Lord. So they go along with her plan. They release a bunch of probes. Because she's like, hey, he's got to be on this mining planet because that was like a fucking mining ship that he took off in. So we do catch up with Kenobi and them. They land on a planet. They're trying to figure out where to go. They're like, hey, the Hodge just said meet some people at this place. Obi-Wan's still weary of trusting people. Leia's like, fuck that, trust everybody. It's great. It's fucking La La Land. Let's just wander around trusting people. So no one shows up. There's nobody at the coordinates. So he's like, fuck, we need to get to the port and just get the fuck out of here. So they see a transport, a truck driving by, and Leia's like, hey, let's just talk to these people. And it's some dude named, was it Frick, something.
Breck or something like that, yeah.
So Leia's like, hey, yeah, me and my dad, we need a ride. We got lost, whatever. He's like, yeah, fuck it, get in the truck. Boom. So, of course, they're driving, and then some stormtroopers show up. They need a ride. So he's like, yeah, get in the fucking back of the truck. So now we got Obi-Wan and Leia. They're trying to hide. They're making up a story about being from Tal, and they're farmers, and they came to visit the site of where Obi-Wan and the mom met. But then Obi-Wan stupidly calls her Leia. And Stormtrooper's like, wait a minute, you said her name was Luma. Why you call her Leia? He's like, whoa, she reminded me of her mother. I'm confused. I'm a fucking old man. Leave me alone, right? So they buy that. I was waiting for the, these are not the droids you're looking for shit, but no, he didn't do that. He just talked his way out of it. They fuck off and they leave. Then Freck, he drives them to like a little checkpoint. He gets out and he's like, hey, these fuckers in the back here are up to some shit. Fucking maybe you stormtroopers should take care of it, which is weird because he had stormtroopers on the transport, didn't say nothing to those guys. Gets to the checkpoint, now he's like, these fuckers are weird, go check them out. One of the probes lands, figures out that it's Obi Wan Kenobi. Kenobi shoots it, now he's fucking John Wayne it up with his fucking pistol, fucking shooting everybody. Opens up the little fucking lasers, goes through, gets the fuck into town. He's ready to go, right? He's ready to get into town, except an Imperial transport shows up with an officer and some more soldiers. He's like, fuck. But then the officer turns out, hey, she was the contact he was looking for anyway. She shoots stormtroopers, takes them to the town. They're ready to get out. Introduces them to some fucking robot that's like a loader robot, don't speak, whatever. Shows him some underground tunnels, says, hey, we've been helping Jedi and people get the fuck out of town. And it's like a whole Jedi Underground Railroad bullshit. She's fucking Harriet Tubman of the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
So, of course, Vader they figure out that it's him because Obi-Wan, before he shot the little probe was like, hey, it's Obi-Wan, and fucking send the message. They go to the fucking planet. Vader's ready. He's like, I'm gonna fucking find Obi-Wan. And he just starts killing people indiscriminately. Like, he doesn't even know that Obi-Wan is there, right? Like, in the vicinity, because Obi-Wan's actually watching it happen, but Vader doesn't realize it. He doesn't even like give you like, oh, I sense Kenobi's near, right? He just starts killing people like fucking indiscriminately. Kenobi's like, fuck it, you guys leave. I'm gonna take care of Vader. Which I didn't think we were gonna get a Vader Kenobi fight so early. I didn't think.
That was pretty early.
So he's like, fuck that, and he gets the fuck out, right? You think you're gonna get a fight, you don't. He fucks off. He's like, fuck you, Vader, and just runs away like a little bitch. Which I thought was weird. Ends up in like the middle of the desert, and Vader's like, dude, you can't fucking run from me. Fucking Vader. Fight me, bitch. And Kenobi's like, puts his lightsaber out, and he's like, fuck that. He runs away again. I was like, what the fuck? So we got two little cock teases for a fight we didn't get. Eventually, Obi-Wan has to fight Vader, so we do get a little lightsaber action going. But then Vader's like, fuck you, picks him up, slams his ass to the ground, starts some shit on fire. He's like, I'm going to fucking burn your ass and make you suffer. I was like, whoa, this fucked up. So eventually, the chick that helped them, the Imperial officer turned traitor, she comes back. She shoots some fucking stormtroopers, gets the loader to grab fucking Kenobi, get him the fuck out of Dodge. Leia, who was running through the tunnel, ends up running into Reva. So she's captured at the end. And that's where we're left off. Initial thoughts on this episode, Gary?
Yeah, very odd. I mean, again, they tackle the fact that Vader can't sense Obi-Wan, obviously, because the Force is not really strong with him at this point. He's just kind of just a beaten man at this point with everything that's happened. So, I just found the part where he goes and tells Obi-Wan, "You should have killed me," and then Vader's here toying with him, and then obviously this is a pivotal moment, right? Because if he's not toying with Obi-Wan here and kills Obi-Wan here, that pretty much stops everything that happens moving forward.
It's almost like he can't kill him. Like no matter what happens,
right?
Obi-Wan has to survive.
Right.
That whole sequence was so just bad. Right? It was just bad because, again, now Vader's using powers that he's never used in the first 3 episodes. Like that was always my problem with having Vader show up in like Rogue One and in this. Right? He's super powerful at this point. And then, like 5 years, he just forgets everything. Just fucking gets Alzheimer's and doesn't know how to do shit. But he takes Obi-Wan, slams him into this fire that's raging. And I'm not really sure what the material was that was burning. But he's in the middle of the fire, not coughing, right? Fire sucks out oxygen. That's how fire burns, right? Hey, you put your face in the middle of a fire, you're going to have trouble breathing. Obi-Wan, no problem breathing.
I mean, obviously, right? Obviously, they did a poor job here because they knew they couldn't really burn him all that much. Clearly, we never see anything wrong with older Ben. So really, it was just weird. He drug him like into the middle of this fire, and not much was happening.
Yeah, he's like, Obi-Wan, I'm gonna put you in the middle of the fire, but nothing, like just barely little burns, like little like 2nd degree. But like, what the hell? He should have been melted. Like he was in the middle of this fucking raging. So that was dumb. The whole not being able to sense Obi-Wan, he didn't sense Leia. Him indiscriminately killing people. Like, really? Like Vader was always badass, but he was never. We wouldn't just call him like a cold-blooded like fucking murderer, like just murdering indiscriminately, right? I never got that vibe off of him in the original trilogy.
Yeah, he was in the street snapping necks.
Yeah, like I always thought that Vader was more of a, to use D&D terms, like lawful evil, right? He was bad, but he had a code, right? This was just chaotic evil. He was just snapping necks and like killing people. I think he killed like a little kid. Like I know Anakin killed some younglings, but they were Jedi, so there was at least enemy combatants, right? These are just like normal townsfolk. And it wasn't even like he killed somebody who was like, hey, Obi, I'm going to kill this guy if you don't show up, right? He was just killing people, hoping, I guess, Obi Wan Kenobi would figure it out.
Right, he was trying to draw him out for sure.
But I think they could have, like I said, more emphasis. Like if he was like, he picked some dude up, but the Force was like, Obi-Wan, I know you're here. Come out, or I'm going to kill this dude or something, right? And Obi-Wan didn't. And they like, because then you could kind of be like, well, shit. Now it's kind of on Obi-Wan, right, for not coming out. It's not maybe it's like 90% Vader, 10% Obi, but in the scenario that was presented, it was just all fucking Vader. Like Obi-Wan didn't have a chance to save anybody. He didn't know that people were going to be getting their neck snapped. Reva being at the other end of the tunnel was weird because
how'd she get in front?
they show her going to the front of the tunnel where Leia and them had fucked off through. But you had no idea where it was going to end up. Like, she just, like, walked through town and was at the other end of the tunnel. Was like, hey, I'm here waiting for you.
Right.
So that was kind of weird. The whole female officer, she's an officer, right? She shows up with stormtroopers. She's an officer. So obviously they recognize who she is. She still has officer rank within the Empire. And then she goes into town and they're all like, let's hide. And I'm like, you're an officer. Why don't you just walk through the middle of the town? No one's going to fuck with you, right? You're an Imperial officer. If anyone asks who these people are, you could just be like, hey, they're fucking with me. And you could have just walked them over to the fucking transport, right? So I didn't really understand. What was she not an officer? Still pretending to be an officer? Did she trick those other guys?
Right. I definitely think this third episode was just kind of all over the place. Granted, I think they were hoping that the Vader Obi-Wan kind of little pitiful fight was going to really, I mean,
overshadow everything.
Yeah, I thought they were going to make a lot of people happy, and it didn't come out as good as people, like they should have left it. Like, leave it for when it's meaningful. Don't just do it because you know the fan service kind of thing. It just fell flat. I mean, it was kind of cool to see them together, right? It's a cool thing to see them together after the events of the end of the third movie, but everything on Mustafar, but doing it like this was just no. And it was I think really what killed it for me is him toying with Obi-Wan and throwing him in the fire, but the fire not really doing anything. It just all fell flat. Going from the second episode where we see him in the tank, and then they just went kind of balls to the wall and we're like, here's Vader, and this is going to make everybody happy. And at the beginning, I thought that was really cool. I liked seeing him, sitting in his throne on Mustafar, but to be honest, it was just kind of the second half of that episode was just it fell flat. It fell flat for me, at least for me.
Yeah, well, the whole fire thing, like at one point he shuts the fire off, right? And then they turn it back on, and then when Tala shoots the stormtrooper, which was stupid, right? You would think she would have shot at Vader, like, because he's the commanding officer. Like, let me shoot that guy, not just one of these lowly stormtroopers. But she shoots a lowly stormtrooper, and they're like, "Oh shit, there's someone up there shooting!" Right? And they all go nuts. They're all like, ah. And Vader's just looking at the fire at Obi-Wan, just staring. He doesn't turn it off and try to stop it. He's just like, oh, look, there's a robot stealing Obi-Wan Kenobi. Should I do something?
No, he just lets it happen, right?
Yeah, I'm just going to stare at it menacingly. That was dumb. The other part where when Obi-Wan's like, oh, shit, you're alive. What are you? And he's like, I'm what you made me. Right? I wanted more of an emotional, like, dude, you left me on the planet to die and the Emperor saved me, right? Like, why are you Vader? Because fucking the Emperor was there when you left me to die, to rot, to burn to death. The Emperor showed up and fucking saved my life. I owe the Emperor my life, and that's why I'm doing this.
Right.
But no, it was just a little, hey, I'm evil because you fucked me over. And then the little part where Leia's like, when you said that thing about mommy, I believed you. You knew my mommy. He's like, I did. They were almost like Obi-Wan had a thing for Princess Amidala. They're like hitting at it. Like, and I was like, ooh. She's like, are you my daddy? He's like, fuck no, bitch. Your daddy. Fuck out of here. I was waiting for Maury to show up. He is not the father. That was dumb. Like, he didn't even I knew your mom, and by the way, fucking Vader's your dad. Right? That would have saved us a lot of trouble with Star Wars trilogy. But Obi-Wan doesn't reveal nothing. Doesn't even admit to actually knowing the mother. Like I said, Leia just kind of figures it out on her own. So there's a lot of like little things. Like if you think about certain things, like when Freck lets the stormtroopers on, and he doesn't tell them to check who these people are, but then he tells the people at the fucking gate to check who they are. That was stupid. When he calls her Leia, and the stormtroopers first set, like you would think that they have radios and they would be like, "Hey, we're locking down the planet because fucking Obi Wan Kenobi's on there and he's with Princess Leia," right? Like they have no idea that anybody's looking for him. So that was dumb. Then the whole gate was dumb. Like he could have just walked around it. Like he opens the gate, like so you think, oh, he's gonna jump in the transport and like drive, but they don't. They just walk through the gate that's now open, right? I'm like, you could have just walked around it.
Are you talking about when he shot it?
Yeah, because he shot the gate.
Well, I thought it was pretty stupid that you could just shoot it that easily. But I guess that's always been in Star Wars. These things that you think would be like thought out a little bit more than that.
It makes sense because it's like an energy. So it's like you shot the energy and like there's no energy, so the lasers don't work no more, right?
Yeah, but the whole point of it is that it's supposed to be a roadblock. So I guess
so
if
you
could
think
just shoot the road,
right?
Yeah, it should be more protected. That was the first thing I said. Is that really? It's all he had to do was just shoot it to open it. What's the point of the roadblock?
But the roadblock, it's there to stop cars, right?
Right.
But if you look, like if you watch the scene,
He could have walked. Yeah, he could have walked. They could have walked around it without even having to mess with it.
Right around it, and it's like, because that's what, like, he shoots the thing, so I'm thinking, oh, he's gonna get in the transport and drive, but no, he shoots the thing, and then they walk forward, and that's when they see the other car coming, and they're like, oh shit. So, yeah, there was like a lot of nitpick. Like, it was like they were just trying to get to the Vader fight, and they really didn't think about all the things that were happening in between. Like, how do we get them from point A to point B as fast as we can? So it was kind of a weak episode. Overall, what are your thoughts on the series so far, Gary? With 3 episodes out of a 6-episode run.
I really felt like the 2 episodes were really good, setting us up, and I really do feel like that 3rd episode was, like you said, like I said at the beginning, that they tried too hard to make that Vader Obi-Wan confrontation really good, and it fell flat.
Yeah, and I think this might be it. Like, we're not going to get another Obi-Wan Vader, because Reva seems to be the main antagonist of the series.
Right.
So either she's going to flip and have a fight with Vader herself, and that's how Obi-Wan has to get, because he has to get away and get back to Tatooine, right? And Leia has to get back to Alderaan.
I really think the confrontation is going to come between her and the Grand Inquisitor. I really do think he's going to come back, and there's going to be beef between them two. I could be wrong, but that's how I at least see it, and that's how I think it would be better. I think you got your Vader appearance for the season. You'll probably see him here and there, but other than that, I don't think there's going to be another confrontation between him and Obi-Wan. That'll probably be left maybe one more time, maybe because obviously we talked about them being signed on for another 2 years, 2 seasons. So we'll see it again, but I don't think it's going to be this season.
Yeah, I think we got the little, sleight of hand. Everyone thought going into this we were going to get Obi-Wan protecting a young Luke. Something was going to happen with that. They're like, psych, you thought. It's actually focused on young Leia. She did at one point, I think it was in episode 2, she said, hey, Ben's kind of a weird name for a Jedi. And now it kind of makes sense that Ben Solo is named after Obi-Wan Kenobi. Because before, you're like, why the fuck, Han Solo doesn't really fuck with Obi-Wan like that. And Princess Leia didn't really have a established relationship between her and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, why the fuck would you name your kid Ben Solo? But now we know, because Obi-Wan Kenobi saved her when she was a little girl. And she said that Ben is a weird name. It's not a Jedi name. And they really didn't want Ben Solo to become a Jedi, Kylo Ren. So naming him Ben as opposed to Obi-Wan or Obi, it's kind of like, hey, we don't want you to be a Jedi. Here's a non-Jedi name of the dude that saved my life. So I like that. I'm sure Star Wars fans don't like that because they hate the new trilogy and they don't want anything to be connected to that. But I thought that was a nice little touch there. Any other thoughts before we wrap this up? I think we've been yamming our way for about 45 minutes here.
Yeah, I think we covered everything pretty good.
And I'm looking forward to the next 3 episodes to see how it concludes. We will have a shorter video next week discussing episode 4. Then we'll do a 5. Then we'll do a 6 with a recap. So that one will be a little longer. Hopefully we're not going to do another 45-minute nonstop spiel. Any last thoughts? Any things you're hoping for? Do you think we're going to see a Han Solo show up? Maybe have a little brush with young Leia. Maybe he's driving a transport ship or something that Leia hops right on.
No, I think it's just gonna stay. I think mediocre. Hopefully, it really ramps up. I really hope they get the Grand Inquisitor back by the end of the show, because I think that could save the season. I don't have much hope for it. Kind of, it's gonna stay on this steady path that they took it on. 3rd episode was kind of a letdown, so I'm hoping that it does ramp up. But other than that, I don't think we're gonna get any more special appearances or anything like that. Maybe a slight appearance, but nothing too special.
Yeah, I also think that the 3rd episode is probably the low point, hopefully, and the next 3 get a little bit better. I want some more action, but we'll see how it goes. But you know how we do it on this channel. Love, peace,